Okay, everyone, Coach Addae joins us next. Questions for Coach? We will start with Greg Hunter.
So, Jahmile, a couple things. Nick Troy Fortune, assess his play, and then obviously he dealt with the tragedy in the summer with the loss of his mother. So, as a coach, how do you react with the kid when they face something like that? I don't know if you've gone through that with other players in the past, but that's got to be difficult for everybody.
Yeah, I would imagine anybody put in that situation would be going through probably the toughest time that they've been to up until that point. I mean, even as a grown adult, I can imagine for myself that would be hard. I've never dealt with, I don't think, anything that tragic or catastrophic within my immediate family. But, you know, seeing him go through it, and again, all the teammates were there, I think all of his support cast in terms of our football team was highly abreast of what was going on, and definitely, you know, supportive of him. But seeing that whole situation go down was a mix of emotions. One, obviously feeling sad for Nick and himself and the situation at hand, but then also feeling really encouraged by seeing some of the guys wrap their arms around him and really be the brothers that they were. And then some excitement on my part to be able to, you know, not necessarily fill a void because you'll never be that, but to continue to do what we've been brought here as coaches to do, which is to mentor him and help him through the toughest times in which they face. And, you know, he's done a heck of a job with it. To answer your second part, in terms of his play, I thought, you know, up until last game, I thought he was really, really consistent. Hadn't given up much. Had been tried on double moves, vertical balls, so on and so forth all year long, and really did an elite job. You know, I think last week was probably an issue, not necessarily just for him, but really the whole supporting cast and really all three phases. And so, you know, not that you want to harp on it, but you learn what not to do, and it's a learning experience. And Nick, no different than the others, is going to return better than he was.
Next is John Antonic.
Curious how you handle reboots as a coach with your guys. And I think back to your career here. You didn't have many instances where you got handled the way you did against Iowa State, particularly in your career.
Right.
How do you do that as a coach with your players? How do you approach that with them?
Yeah. Well, first thing you've got to do is be transparent. I know there's some things that I feel I wish I would have done differently. And I think the first thing that you've got to do anytime you have a performance like that is to look in the mirror and really self-reflect and self-scout and see what it is that you could have done better to help the situation. I think that's fair. And the reboot starts with me. You know, the one thing that I know about myself is I'm prideful, and that's the first thing that's bothered by our last performance. And so I think your temperament and how you go about things rubs off on your players. It's natural in that way. I've been coached by some guys that I feel like I resemble as I've gone through my career and even things in life. And so I know as a coach that all eyes are on me, and I've got to respond the right way. And so the reboot starts with me getting back in the book, really getting back to basics, and taking us back to where we were, which is an elite defense and elite back end. And, you know, the good thing about it is we've got, you know, one and obviously two more opportunities to show that we are what we've been for the past 8 games. You know, I'd like to think that, you know, that one game doesn't tarnish everything that we've done throughout the season. But at the end of the day, in this profession and in this game, you only are what you've shown lately. And that's not the way we want to go out. That's not us, and we'll let that be known.
Real quick here, Coach. I know that when you played for a guy who wanted his guys to play with an edge, is that kind of a reminder to your guys that, hey, we're not at the point where you can just walk out and just beat somebody. You got to play with that edge and passion and desire?
I think anytime that you take a loss in the fashion in which we did, I think it's a reminder. It's a reminder that, you know, you can never get too high and never get too low. Even with the success that we've had coming into that game, it shows that at any given Saturday that it could not be your day, or that if you don't come with things strapped up and ready to go, that it can get to be an embarrassment. And you know, I thought, especially the first half, that we weren't ready to play football, not championship football, not in the way that we had been, again, leading up to this game. I thought in the second half we competed a bit more, but again, still not to the standard in which we want. And our guys understand that. They come in, they owned it on their own, and I think they're the same as the coaches. They want to get back to it and really try to show what our product has been, which has been some really good defense this year.
Greg Hunter.
So, Jahmile, 9 games into the season, you've probably seen about most everything you can out of an offense. So that said, looking ahead to Oklahoma, anything that they do unique, or they just do what they do really, really well?
Not necessarily unique. I think they do what they do really, really well, and I think they have the Jimmies and Joes to do things that maybe other people can't. I think they stretch the field vertically, probably about as good as any team that I've faced in my coaching career, but they have the horses on the outside that can run and get things vertical. Obviously, offensive line is big and athletic, and the quarterback not only manages the offense but has the ability to make splash plays, whether it be with his feet or with his arm. And so, I mean, it is what it is. You know the problems that presents. It's been that for us every single game. It just so happens that this game is the next one, and so we've got to come back and show again that we're able to be sound in all phases, whether it be the run game or the pass game. These guys are going to tax you on both levels, and we're ready. We'll be ready for the challenge.
Go ahead, Cody Nesper.
Hi, Jahmile. Just so Taiki was named to semifinals for the Thorpe Award yesterday, and just we've obviously talked about him a lot and asked you about him a lot, but as he has started to get more and more national recognition, how has he handled that?
You know, I think Taiki's always been kind of an even-keel kid. He's not necessarily, I think, even you guys, you've interviewed him, he almost wants to hurry up and get the interview over with. He's not necessarily camera shy, but he just wants to go about his work in a sense. And, you know, I know in talking to him that he's excited about the recognition. The one thing we preach here is that, you know, again, in your individual accolades, you know, the team will benefit from those. And so he's obviously picking up a few. But that comes from good defensive football, not just by him, but the guys around him. And so my job as a coach is to really, you know, impress upon him that, you know, not necessarily is it only just you or myself or the scheme, but really there's some pieces that holistically make this thing happen for you. And Taiki is smart enough to understand that. And so, no, I don't think that there'll be much change. And if there is, I'll do everything I can to slow that down.
Back to John.
Last thing for me here, and again along the theme of the reboot, you haven't been with Neil as long as some of the other guys on the staff, but I think back to what last year after the Missouri game, the way you guys bounced back and played against NC State. What is it about him that he's able to get guys and rally his team?
I think he's just transparent. You know, some guys, you know, in the past I've seen guys get up in front of their group after maybe not a great showing and sugarcoat things or try to make it something that it's not, or finagle it or finesse it to be, you know, maybe a different message. But I think kids these days are smart enough to understand and call out bullcrap. And so getting up in front of the group and just really being honest and open about your thoughts, and then being able to understand that you can't let one game beat you twice and that you've got to move forward. I think he does a nice job of snapping back, or as you're saying, rebooting and moving forward. Because at the end of the day, you know, every game is premier. There's no playoff system in a sense. Obviously, there's a smaller one at the top, but every game we're vying for a spot. And so, you know, with that, Coach understands the urgency that happens to be there, and really does a nice job of just kind of moving forward. And although it's hard and takes some discipline in a sense, he does a really good job of doing so.